Hi everyone, welcome to this presentation on the user authentication and management system. I designed this project to provide a robust and efficient way to manage user authentication and administrative functionalities. It's built using Angular for the front end and NestJS for the back end. It also utilizes NGRX for state management along with Tailwind CSS for styling. So the key features of this application are user authentication and authorization. It uses secure user registration and login using JWT tokens. Profile management, including viewing and updating user information. Also password management with forgot password and reset functionalities. Also you can update the password from your profile. The admin dashboard for the admin roles. So the admins can view, search, filter, activate, deactivate, and change user roles for all the users in the database. So let's start with the live demo. Here we are in our login page. If we try to log in with invalid credentials, like this is a non-existing email, so it says invalid or email or password. So let's create a new account with the same email, and for the password, after we register, it will redirect us to the login page. We can log in successfully, and when we log in, it will take us to the user profile. Here for a user role, you can only edit their information. So if I wanted to remove my last name, for example, and update, it's gonna remove it. Also, we can check in the database. I used MongoDB for the database. Here is the email, and as you can see, it's not activated yet. Also, the role is user. We have an admin role, which is this email. Okay, we can use it to log in. So admins can also activate new user accounts. Okay. So the password is incorrect. Okay, we can reset our password. I have implemented the forgot password functionality. So after we click forget password and it took us to the forget password URL, I can enter the email that I forgot my password on. Usually it will send an email with the application link and the token. But since most of the emails I'm using for this demo application are fake emails, so I made it to redirect the user to the link instead of clicking it in the email. It will directly take them there with the token. So after we add a new password, I will call it password for simplicity. Okay. Everything is successful. When we go back to the home page and okay, so we have logged in successfully. This is the admin profile page. As you can see here, the role is admin and status active. The admin can also update their information. They can deactivate their account since the status is active. If it's not active, the deactivate button will not appear for them. Also, here are the same features, activate and deactivate. This is the reason I have two deactivate buttons, because this part is only for the profile part, but this part, the admin controls, it only shows for the admins. So we can visit the admin dashboard. Here we have all the registered users. I can show you these users. Currently there are 4 users. So they are shown here. This only for it's only shown for the admin roles. Okay. We can filter. For example, if we want to search for John or an email that starts with John, it will give that. It will filter it. Also, we can search by the role. We can search for the user roles. We will get all the users with the user roles. And also, we can search for the users who are inactive yet, and we can activate their account. So after we activated the account, this is the email, which was the recently registered email. We activated it. We can check in the database. So here is active is 2. We can also make this user admin. We can give them the admin function, the admin role. I'm sorry. So here the role is admin. If we logged out and we logged in using that email, as you can see now it has the admin profile page and it can visit the admin dashboard. If want, we can make it a user. So now I made the role of this account, which is the currently logged in account, a user, and we visited the profile. Now we can visit the admin. Okay, it's a user again. We can also deactivate the account. When you want to deactivate it, it will pop up a message and it will tell you, are you sure you want to deactivate your account? If you click OK, it will log you out and you have to log in again. After you log in, your status will be active again. So that's it for the dashboard. So now this is my code base. I have built the code using NX monorepo. I used Angular for the front end and NestJS for the back end. So in the back end, I have built the API using NestJS. I'm going to go through and explain the core code segments in my app. So here's my project structure of the API. We have the admin authentication and users components. We can go through the admin component first. The admin controller. So this is the controller. This controller is defined for admin users only. It is protected by the guards of JWT auth guard and roles guard. So the JWT auth guard is basically it only checks if the user is logged in, and there is a JWT already, and it will give access to the user. If not, it won't give access. Also for the roles guard, it is checking for the roles in general, and it checks if the role of the user trying to access the admin endpoint, if it equals the same role which is in the roles guard, which in our case is admin, it will give it access. If not, it won't give it access. So here in our first function, like define all users, we are using the role decorator first. The role decorator, it takes the role which we provide like admin, and it sets it in the metadata. So we are retrieving all the users for the admin. This is used for the dashboard function. And then we have the update user. We are also passing the admin as a role, and we are passing the ID and the params and the role that we want to update in the body. And then we call the update role from the user's service. We have here the search user. This endpoints allows the admins to search for users by parameters like email, name, role, and the activity status. And then this function, it constructs a search query and uses the use service to fetch the results. Finally, we have the user activation and deactivation. It's also accessed by the admins. We give it the role decorator. We pass the admin, and here it either activates the user by visiting this endpoint or deactivating it. Then we can go to the admin module. Here we are setting up the module. We are importing the users module, and we are providing the admin service and admin controller. So this setup only organizes the admin related functionality. Then we have the admin service. We are also again defining find all users here. This method retrieves all the users by interacting with the user service. Then we can go to the auth module. We've finished from the admin controller. We can visit the authentication. As I explained for the JWT and the role guard, the same thing goes for the local auth. It also checks if the email and password are defined. We have in the auth controller right now we have the login. The auth controller doesn't have any guards in general for the class, but for logging in we are using the local auth guard, which checks for the email and password. And here we are getting the user data, email, password, and we are promising for a response of access token and expires in the response. Also, we have a get profile. This is fetched by a post request. We are protecting it using the JWT auth guard, which means the user needs to be logged in to be able to get the profile. For updating the profile, the same thing. We protect it using JWT auth guard, and we check if the user exists, and then we update the profile and we update the user profile and return that the user has been updated in the response. For the register, it's the same as login. We pass the register data, which is defined in the DTO as a classes. We are registering a name, email, and password. These are the required fields. And we are returning the user response in the response. Finally, we have the forgot password. We are receiving an email in the body, and after that we get the token from the auth service by calling the forgot password function. And after we get the token, we will send it to the reset password by params, and we will send the new password by the body. We will also call this function from the auth service. Here's the auth service. So first we have the register. This manages the user registration by creating a new user with a hashed password using bcrypt. Then we have the forget password and reset password again. These handle the process of resetting a user's password. And the forgot password generates a reset token, as I said, and the reset password validates the token and updates the password. After that, we have the validate user. This is responsible for validating user credentials during the login. It checks if the email and password match a registered user. Finally, we have the login. This generates a JWT for authenticated users, which including the user information in the token payload. Okay, so now we are done with the auth service. In the auth model, we are configuring the authentication system. Here we are setting up the JWT and passport strategies. We are importing the users module, and we are providing necessary controllers and services for authentication. Now we can go to the users. First, I have defined the user schema. I defined the user role as admin and pass and user. I have defined the fields for the user object for the user schema in the database, which include ID, name, email, password, created at is active, role. So the user role, I defined it in the role field. After that, I'm exporting the user schema, and I exported the type of user document as user and document classes combined. Then we can go to the user controller. In the user controller, we have the create function. This handles the user sign up by creating a new user and returning their information. And the login, this is a placeholder, just a placeholder for user login functionality. I didn't use it. We used the login and the register in the auth controller. So we can go to the user service now. In the user service, we have the create function. This create function is responsible for creating a user again and hashing the password using bcrypt. Then we are saving the user in the database and returning it, excluding the password. We have find one. This finds a specific user by their email, and find all, this retrieves all the users registered in the database. Find one by reset token. This one is used for by the reset password function. It is responsible for finding if the reset password token and the reset password expires are valid, and the token is not expired yet. So this is for the validation. Update. This is for updating the user profile. We are getting the user ID and the update user object in the body. And then we are doing a check if the user is available. If not, we'll throw a not found exception. If the password was updated, it will hash it and it will update the current password, and then we will assign the user as an object, and we will save it and return it in this format. I will show the format now, the to response. Validate user password. This is for the login. We are comparing the password. We are comparing the password with the current hashed password in the database, and we'll return the user if available. If not, we will not return anything. The to response. This converts the user document to a response object with excluding the sensitive information like passwords. So I'm just defining what I want to return. I've excluded the password. Then we have the update role. This updates the user's role. Search users. This search for users based on various criteria like email, name, role, activate user, and deactivate user. We have two functions. These toggle the user's active status by the admin and by the user themselves. Then we are now finished with the user, admin, and authentication components. Okay, so now we can go to the Angular, the front end part. This is the folder structure. First, we have the guards. In the admin guard, this guard checks if the user has an admin role. It uses the ngrx store to select the user's role and allows navigation to the route only if the role is admin. If not, it redirects the user to the profile page. Then we have the auth guard. This guard checks if the user is authenticated by verifying the token in the ngrx store. If the token is found, it allows navigation. If not, it redirects to the login page. Then we have the interceptor. This interceptor adds the JWT token from the local storage to the authorization header of every HTTP request. If token is not found, it passes without modifying it. But in my case, the interceptor didn't work with me, so I had to define the header in every HTTP request. Then after the interceptors, we have the models. I defined the auth model here. So we have the user response, the auth response, and the user profile. In the pages, first we have the admin page. I'll show you the admin component page. This component manages the admin dashboard. It interacts with the ngrx store to load, search, activate, update the user role. It includes the reactive form by the reactive forms module by Angular to search for the users, for searching users. And then we can go here is the admin dashboard panel, the admin dashboard code, HTML code. I've defined the form, which is the search form. I defined the table here, table header, table rows, and the body. I'm using Tailwind CSS for the classes, for the styling. We can go now for the forget password component. This component handles the forget password functionality. It includes a reactive form model again, and for entering the email, and it dispatches an action to request a password reset link, or in our case to just redirect to the password reset with the token. Here is the action that I defined in the auth actions. Then we have the login component. It also has a reactive form. Basically, this handles the login. This manages the login process. It interacts with auth service to handle the login request. It dispatches actions to update the store with the authentication state. It also checks if there is an authentication token or not. If there is an authentication token, it will redirect the user to the profile. Then we have the profile component. This component displays and allows editing of the user's profile. It interacts with the ngrx store to load and update the profile data. It also has the functionality to deactivate the user's account, current user's account. I have defined some functions here, like the toggle edit mode, like if the user wanted to edit, or so the view will be in either edit mode or view mode. The logout and deactivate, and here is for the admin deactivate user. We'll call dispatch the deactivate user. If the current user wanted to deactivate their account, we'll dispatch the update profile. No, I'm sorry, if the current user wanted to deactivate, it will dispatch the update profile to become inactive. And finally, the same thing happens to if the admin wants to activate the user, we'll dispatch activate user. Next, we can go to the register. It has the same logic as the login. We have a form, and we are handling submit by dispatching the register action. Finally, we have the reset password component. This component handles the password reset process. It also includes a form to enter the password, and it dispatches the reset password using a token and a new password. We can close the pages and we can go to the service. So this is the auth service. We are here interacting with third-party applications or APIs. So we have the API. Here I have defined the API in an environment variable. So the API auth URL is just the API with an auth and at the end for the authentication, and the normal API I have not defined anything. And also we have the role. I've defined the register endpoint using the API auth URL. The login, we are just sending a post request to the API in the backend using the services we have created before. So next we can move on to the store. In the store we have state management for admin and for the authentication. We can start with the admin. Here we have the admin actions. These actions define the operations related to admin functionality, including loading users, searching for users, activating and deactivating users, and updating the users. We have three actions we have three statuses for every action. Like we have the load users and the load user success if the action was successful, and failure if the action failed. Then we have the effect, admin effect. Here we are handling side effects for the admin actions. These interact with the auth service here to perform API calls and dispatch success or failure actions based on the outcomes. I have defined like the load users. This is for the dashboard, which loads the users in the admin dashboard. This is for activating users, deactivating, update, and update user roles. Then we have the admin reducer. This handles the state changes for admin related actions. It updates the state based on actions like loading users, searching users, and updating user roles. We have defined the shape of the admin state and the initial state. We have also defined it. Like the users will be an empty array, the loading is false, and the error is null. And we have created a reducer for every action. For example, like load users, we will set the loading to true while it is loading. If it's successful, we will return the users and set the loading to false. If it's unsuccessful, we will return an error, and the loading will be returned to false. Then we have the selector. The selectors here, these provide convenient ways to access parts of the admin state, such as the list of users, the loading state, and error state. So that's it for the admin. We'll go to the auth action. It's the same thing for the admin. So here we are defining the operations related to authentication, including the login, registration, forget password, reset password, setting roles, and activating users and deactivating. Then we have the auth effect. Here, these effects, they also handle the side effects for authentication actions. So we have here like the registration effect. It will, after registration is successful, it will navigate the user to the login. For the login, after the login is successful, we set expiration time of the token to 8 hours. We are getting the expires in from the API response. We'll set the token in the local storage, and we'll set the expiration time also in the local storage, and then we'll navigate the user to the profile. And when the authentication is successful, we will pass to the login success. We'll pass the access token and expires in. So in the login success, we are doing the same thing. We are setting the role. In local storage, which we are, by calling dispatching the get profile from the service. So we are getting the role here, and we're setting it to the local storage, and we're navigating the user to the profile page. We are doing load users, search for users. Again, we are dispatching the actions for the search functionalities. We're dispatching the actions for load functionalities. Also for the forget and reset password. For the logout, we dispatched. We are removing the token and token expiration and role, and then we are redirecting to the login. After that, we have the reducer. This reducer also manages the state changes for authentication related actions. It also updates the state based on actions like the login, forget password, reset password, and etc. Finally, we have the auth selectors. These selectors also provide ways to access the parts of the authentication state, like the token, the user profile, the error state, and the role. Then we have constants. We define these constants. I've defined these constants to use them in the auth actions. But I have added these lately, so I didn't define them in a constant. But in general, we have these constants, like we can call them, to make the code cleaner. That's it. Then we have the app component. This is the component which is the layout of the application. I have defined the logout function, so because I added a navbar here, so I defined the logout function here. We're dispatching the logout function action. Finally, we have the app routes. I defined the routes for the Angular application, like the routes for login, register, profile, admin dashboard, forget password, and reset password. And I have also added guards to protect these routes based on the authentication and user roles. Like for the profile, I have added the auth guard that the user should be authenticated. And for the admin, I have added the admin guard. So that's it for the whole code walkthrough and the project. I hope I could explain everything clearly. And if you have any questions, you can feel free to ask me, or if you have any suggestions, you can. I am happy to hear about your suggestions. Thank you so much.